Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. Let me get all of my stuff pulled up here. Great. All right. So I'm Whitney. I am 1/3 of the co-founder trio of AdvocacyCon. I'm joined here with Eric Carter Londine, one of the other three of us, and Jazz from Missing in America Network, and Candace Cooley from Dylan's Legacy. And we're so excited to have you all here.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Great. Eric, do you want to kick things off, or y'all want to start with just introducing yourself? Either way, this is pretty informal.
I'll go ahead and kick us off. So first of all, thank you, Jazz and Candace, for being here tonight, for joining us. We're excited to talk with you and to introduce everybody who's watching this live stream or watching it as a playback to both Missing in America and Dylan's Legacy. So I would love to just kind of set the scene here. I'm hearing a lot of feedback again. I'm so sorry. All right. It's just hearing my own voice back in my ears. It always drives me crazy. Apologize for that. Now that one ear's open, so I'm good here. Okay, sorry. So tonight we just want to introduce you to both of these amazing organizations, these amazing individuals who are incredible advocates out there, doing amazing work and really making a difference in the lives of the families of the missing and murdered. So I want to welcome both of you here. You're both coming to AdvocacyCon, which is going to be incredible, March 28th through 30th in Indianapolis. But if we can just start with you, Jazz, can you tell us a little bit about Missing in America Network and kind of like some of the success stories and impact that you've been able to see through that work that you're doing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So first, I just want to say I am really excited about AdvocacyCon, and I am honored to be at your very first kickoff one. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. So Missing in America Network is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're dedicated to managing missing person campaigns, fostering online awareness, and engaging communities to reunite family with their loved ones. We have a Facebook group set up for all the states. Our goal is to build strong, engaged community that can assist in local missing person cases. So the biggest thing we do is we support families in any way that they need. We're their shoulder, we're their support, we're there for them every step of the way. And we do anything that they need us to do. We call hospitals, we go out and hand out flyers, just anything that they need, we do. Let's see, in 2024, we have worked with over 200 families. 48 of those families still have a missing person. 138 of them were found safe. And sadly, 17 of them were located deceased. So overall, since our inception, we have worked with over 400 families. So we still have about, I think we have about a little bit under 50 in the 40 amount left from previous years that are still outstanding. Some of those people have been missing for 10 years. Some have been missing for 4 years. So they're considered cold cases, but we still help with awareness because you never know when somebody's going to come forward and get a tip out there. So we're a small nonprofit. We depend on our community for their support in coming out and helping us do searches, hang flyers. We count on their support to help us be able to help families. So thanks for having us here.
Wow, that's incredible work. I love hearing what you're doing. It's just so inspiring to know that there are people out there like you, organizations like Missing in America that are getting out there and just making sure that the work gets done. So thank you for that. Candace, do you want to share a little bit about Dylan's Legacy and your ongoing work there?
Yeah, so, Dylan's Legacy kind of all started because of Missing in America Network. Jazz doesn't give herself enough credit, never does. So they stepped into Dylan's case, I believe, I think June, the middle of June, end of June.
Became about 4 days in, so yeah.
Yeah. My mind gets foggy in those days. Became a very safe place. So then as we worked through Dylan's case, besides the awareness itself, we realized that there's also a need for boots on the ground, and boots on the ground is definitely beneficial, but there is also there's a way to do things, there's a way to map things, there's a way to bring in proper resources. And throughout the 20 months it took us to recover Dylan, we learned so much. And so it became a perfect blend of the organizations where we can get the awareness, and then when boots need to hit on the ground, it's done in the proper way. So we offer canine support that are fully vetted, that are fully credited. We see too many families taken advantage of, say, my bloodhound tracked this man after 30 days. My bloodhound can chase somebody that was in a car. My cadaver dog can find anything. And so we've really, between that and the drones and everything we lead, because all of this was utilized in Dylan's case. So everything we lead on is all very vetted, responsible. We're not re-victimizing families. We're not promising them things that we say we can do that we know. We just came off a search in Oregon that, you know, we told the family, we're probably under 5%. We're still here, but here's the reality of it. We'll still be here for you, but we're not going to tell you we're going to go out and recover this body in a day, in 2 days of searching. And we see a lot of that, unfortunately, in true crime and how popular it's become. And so we really strive to try to weed out, bring in the proper resources, and not give these families false hope, not re-victimize them, do the best we can. And that gives the family not closure, it gives them the peace of mind that they brought in organizations that truly want to help, because so many of them, they want the popularity, they want the FaceTime, they want the name fame, and they really are not helping the families. And after going through 20 months of what I went through, that is the worst thing you can do to a family. So we really try to offer those resources. We work so close with law enforcement, from U.S. Marshals to FBI to tons of county agencies now. It's amazing what you can do if you put your mind to it and teach them, right? Education, because people don't know what they don't know. So we have just really taken a big stand on that through Dylan's legacy.
I love that so much. And I think that that's a perfect segue into talking about AdvocacyCon and what we are doing, because our goal really is to bring those people that know what to do, those people that have been out there working in the trenches, like you, Candace, like you, Jazz, the other families that have been out there, trying to get justice. We have Beth Holloway coming to talk about what it means to have hope in your loved one's case. It took her 20 years to get a resolution. And so like everything that we're doing at AdvocacyCon is bringing together all of these resources, all of these tools, all of these potential opportunities, or, educational opportunities to learn about what could potentially work in your own case, right? Like, we want to connect families with those organizations, with those resources, with those experts that can help them, give them some ideas. We're not going to promise that we're going to solve the world. We're not going to promise that their case is going to get solved because they're coming to AdvocacyCon. But what we do want to say is, like, we're going to promise you that we're going to bring an environment of hope and an environment of safety and love. Because it is such a lonely, Candace, I know it is such a lonely experience to go through this. And so let's all get together, let's lean on each other, let's help each other, and let's all move our cases forward together. That's what I love about AdvocacyCon. And so I blabbed about it for a long time. Whitney, do you want to add anything about that?
You covered it all very, very nicely and very eloquently, like you always do. So there's not a lot I have to add to that. But I also want to say that I am not a family member. I am fortunate that I am not a family member, but you don't have to be a family member to do the right thing and helping others who have gone through this. So even if you aren't a family member and you want to come help advocate, learn to advocate, how to work with families in these terrible situations, you are still welcome at AdvocacyCon. It's all about learning and experiencing this together. So everyone's involved. So let's talk a little bit about how people can get involved.
That's you, Jazz. That's you.
Everybody out there, can get involved. Everybody. And it only takes a couple of minutes a day, a couple minutes a week, whatever time you have. The biggest thing that you can do to help families of missing persons is to share their information on your social media. The first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure it's a legitimate post from a legitimate place and that it's not some kind of a scam, because we know there's a lot of that going on. But if you are sharing from a nonprofit organization that has a very good reputation, there's quite a few of us out there. You can be confident that we vetted the information and we have made sure. Or you can share it from police departments. Wherever you share it from, just share. Because it's only going to take that share getting to one person who remembers, oh my goodness, I saw that car. I saw that person. And calling in that tip and finding that person and bringing them home and making sure that they're safe. And so the public is the most valuable resource in bringing these people home to their families. That's the first thing that you can do. The second thing that you can do is if you, in your community, you have a missing person, get involved. Attend the searches, attend the flyer events, print a couple flyers off, hang them where you work, hang them at your grocery store. Put them on your car as you drive around and park in parking lots. Everybody that walks by, I do it all the time. I see people taking pictures, doing the QR codes all the time. People ask me questions about my flyers on my car. It's an amazing way, and it's free and it's easy and it doesn't take much time. So those are the greatest things that you can do. If you want to go a step further and volunteer, get a hold of me, get a hold of Candace, get a hold of an organization that's in your town, in your state. We're nationwide, so we'll take anybody and we'll help you build a team in your community. We'll help you. But get a hold of somebody that's already in here and grab a hold of them and say, I'm here to help. I love when people say that with us because we can't do it alone. You know, Candace and I try. We try to do a lot.
Yeah,
we can't do it alone. We have a great team behind us. We have volunteers that help us, and we rely on them heavily for a lot of support and a lot of help. But that's what everybody can do. And the other thing, the last thing, which, you know, nobody likes to talk about, but donations. Our nonprofits, it's, you know, we shoulder a lot of this. Candace does, I do. We pay for a lot. And we could really help. $5, $10, whatever. I have a couple people that send $5 a month, and I love them dearly. I love them dearly because that helps me be able to buy the flyers and the posters for people that can't afford it. So those are the ways you can help.
Yeah, it's so to feed off of Jazz here. We all find ourselves in the position when we end up in this position. And you know it, Eric, it doesn't happen to families like us, right? It doesn't happen to us. That is, I hear it from parents over and over. I hear people when I'm out saying, hey, can you help me fund this search? And they're like, well, it's never going to happen to us. Well, guess what? It happens to us. And it happens so fast. And then you find yourself in need and you find yourself needing help. And you know, we're working right now on 4 cases with Lane County sheriffs up in Oregon. And we have, I mean, this last search we just did 2.5 weeks ago, it was $2,500 just to get the team there, just to do what we needed to do. And we're going to have to go back and the sheriff's office doesn't have the money, and the family's in the position of, this should have never happened to us. Nobody has the funds. And so we try to, I mean, we cover everything. We try to get the families everything they need. We do it properly. Everything's in accordance with law enforcement. We don't ever work a case or do anything that we're not invited into. We don't put out a flyer without a police report because, you know, that's where you kind of get into the fraud. But, you know, I really caution to people, don't say and think about that it never happens to you, because my son was in a population of 9 people, and it still happened to us. So people need to realize it can happen that fast, and it does, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does. But for the grace of God, right? Like, I think that's what I often say, that some people will never know what it's like to fight for justice or search for answers for your missing or murdered loved one, and good for them. Like, good for them.
Yeah, I hope they never have to.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think that like Jazz, you both of you actually really hit on some really important things. I think community is so critically important to solving and to getting answers with a lot of these cases, right? And so while sharing on social media may seem insignificant to somebody who doesn't live with this stuff every day like we do, um, it is such a simple but the most effective, I think, thing that can be done when it comes to getting awareness out there. And unfortunately,
Yep.
unless there's engagement with like different posts, they don't show up in people's feeds. So that's another part I think that maybe gets overlooked is like, don't just share, maybe comment, hey, sharing in New Mexico, hey, sharing in Idaho, sharing in Florida, so that just helps to move, those posts up in the algorithm. It shows that people are interested in it. If you just see it and you ignore it, and even if you just share it, that helps a little bit, but that engagement I think goes pretty far in getting that awareness built up.
Well, and Jazz, do you want to explain to them how, like in Missing in America Network, we only allow one post and then it's the engagement that keeps it going? Because that's important.
Right. So in our groups, we try to keep it this way. Sometimes it slips by us and it doesn't happen. But this is what our goal is, to have one post per missing person. And that way we keep the updates in there and we keep the engagement in there. And to add to what you said, to your point, what I love to see is when the community starts supporting the family and putting in little messages for the family, because they need hope and they need to feel like they're not alone. And that's the thing that Candace and I want everybody to know is you are not alone. We are here. We're here for you. And so when you see a post of a missing person, take a couple seconds and just put, I hope he's found safe. I hope she comes home to you, or whatever it may be, or praying for you. And it means the world to family when they see they're not alone.
And I can speak for that. Once Jazz got involved and helped get all the craziness out of Dylan's case, and Dylan became the all-American farmer, right? And the outpouring, like all the stuff you guys see behind me, even the picture of Dylan, it was sent to me. This is stuff I have a whole room full blankets, I have jewelry, I have cards, I have letters from Australia. I mean, I look around this room and I'm like, it's not even enough I can put it on camera. And it was all people who cared about Dylan. And it meant the world for me to know that, hey, people care without even meeting Dylan. And I'm not saying you got to send stuff or anything like that, but even just the kind comments like, hey, your daughter was amazing. Your son was amazing. What a beautiful girl. What, a handsome young man, whatever it is. We need to uplift the parents. We need to help the parents and the families through this. We need to let them know in their most hellacious moment in their life they'll ever go through, that there's people like us out there that will help them get through it, and take all the negativity out of it.
Yeah, there's people like us. There's organizations like Missing in America. There's organizations like Dylan's Legacy. There's organizations like Advocacy Conference that are there to help those families. But every other person that's watching or listening to this can also help. You can also engage, and you can also, like Jazz said, print out those flyers, share them, post them in places. Every little bit goes such a long way to making a huge impact. So I just want to thank you both for everything that you're doing and all the work that you're doing to help families of the missing. I can't say enough good things about both of you, and I'm so excited to meet you in person in March.
I'm very excited too.
Okay, yeah, well now that you guys said that, let's talk about what you're most excited about with AdvocacyCon. What are you excited about? And then also, if you want to give a little teaser, because both of you are presenting separate sessions, if you want to give a little teaser about what you're going to be talking about, if you feel comfortable. If not, that's okay. You can say, no, Eric, I'm not comfortable to say that yet. But what are you excited about? And if you feel like it, what are you talking about?
You want to go first?
Sure. So the one thing I'm excited about is that this is not a make money based conference. This is truly a conference to help families, for us to connect and see who we can help. I think that is so amazing. The true crime world has just exploded, and there's nothing wrong with that. It does do some good. But as Jazz and I experienced with many conferences together, I feel like this will be one that families are more comfortable talking, engaging, right? Because we're truly here to be advocates for the people who can't speak for themselves. I have so much to talk about, like always. I'm never for a loss of words. I don't know. We've got 4 legislation bills forward right now for public safety. Amazingly, we have hooked up with the Kelsey Smith family who did the Kelsey Smith Act that we're going to do. So I spent 2 hours on the phone with their mom last night. I have vetted canine programs planned. We're doing stuff with the Texas Rangers. And all of that is great, but I haven't really decided what I want to talk about because I want, luckily I'm not till Sunday, so I can kind of get to know the people around us. I want to be able to give the best advice, the best resources to families that are still going through this. And that's really what I want to gear towards is what can we do to help you? I got my son back. I've been through this. I got my son back. It was complete hell, but we did it. So I don't need to talk about everything we went through because there was a means to an end. I want to know what can I give our audience of victims' families to help them through this. I want to offer them. I'm open to question and answers in different cases. How can we help them get the resolution I got? And that's what I'd really like to see come out of this conference.
Awesome. Jazz?
Excellent. So everything she said, I echo everything that she said, because it's all about the families and offering help to families. And so that has to be number one. But as a side note, something I'm really looking forward to is meeting other organizations that do what we do. Because I feel like it takes all of us to help these families. Not one of us could do it alone. I would never get any sleep and I still couldn't help all the people that need help. So I'm looking forward to meeting other organizations, finding out what works for them, sharing what works for me, and bettering what I do through other people who are doing the same thing that I do. That's something I'm really looking forward to. And so, I think that that's going to be the gist of our presentation on Sunday is going to be how we can help families, what we do, and how we can help them. I'm hoping that that we can share what to do when you have someone go missing, and we can pass on the message that you're not alone. All of us are here, and we're here to help you. Many people, when they have a missing person, you never think you're going to have a missing person, so you don't know what to do. You don't know, for instance, parents. They don't have any idea about the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They don't have any idea about it. So when their child goes missing, they don't know what to do. They don't even know that they need to find somebody to reach out to, and they try to navigate it themselves. And so I want the world to know that if you have somebody go missing, there's people like us out there. And we can lean on other organizations like Candace and I together do things. We work with anybody that is reputable and wants to help. And so the biggest messages to families is make sure that you're letting everybody in your community know you don't have to go this alone if this happens to you. There's people out there that can help.
And if there's not people close to you, there's people at AdvocacyCon that can embrace you and welcome you like family. Whitney, you were going to say something?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this extensively about the importance of collaboration. None of this is a competition. No one's trying to win anything here. It's how can we get each person to the resource they need at the time they need it. So whether that's your organization, Jazz, or your organization, Candace, or me as a content creator, how can we get the person to who they need to speak to when they need it? And I think that's the biggest takeaway we're hoping from AdvocacyCon is making those connections that for the collaborations to occur, because I know that I send a lot of families to different places, whether that's different nonprofit organizations, other content creators, organizations like yours. This person can help you. Have you tried this? Have you done this? Just giving them one more step that maybe they hadn't thought of on their own.
Well, and I think it's also very important that, we teach these families who start going through it what to stay away from, because the organizations that are important are the ones we want, but teaching them the organizations that are trolls and re-victimize families, it's just important that the public knows that, right? So there's two sides to this whole advocacy thing. So it's horrible when you got to tell a family, stay away from this person. They're trolling you. They're taking your money. They're not a real PI. Their dog is not certified. They're not telling the truth. They're re-victimizing you. They're putting you in this horrific situation that you think is going to solve the perfect situation you're already in, and then they end up deflated. I want people to know that there is much bad out there there is good in what we do. And that's the honest truth. It's a lot of stuff that people don't want to talk about, but it's very important. When you first start putting stuff out on Facebook, Jazz, you can say, from example, from Dylan's case, what it puts a family through. You need somebody to go in, take control of everything. You know, you don't let just crazy posts go up. You don't just throw it out there. But as a parent, and I did it, Justin and I did it, we threw everything out there with our personal information, with everything, and it caused us hell. I had no clue there was organizations like Jazz, and I had no clue there was bad organizations. I didn't know. So I think it's important that both sides are publicly acknowledged and brought out into the public view, so we don't see families keep getting re-victimized.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Sorry to interrupt you. That's an excellent point. Because we just 2 weeks ago, we had a family here in Arizona who had a 14-year-old girl that went missing. It was the result of an online relationship. The person drove here to Arizona, picked her up, and took her out of state, and ended up dumping her on the side of the road. Thank goodness, because it could have been much worse. Anyways,
yeah, we got her.
The family had paid how do I describe it? Because I don't want to.
Do you want me to describe it? It was a private investigator who had lost his license. Just call it what it is. It was a private investigator who had lost his license.
Money to find their daughter, who absolutely ended up not doing anything. It was all the money they had. They did not have the money to drive or fly there to get their daughter back and bring her back. So Candace and I stepped in, along with one of her coworkers, who paid for them to get there, and then Candace and I paid to get her home. So that is and I want to shout from the rooftops, don't trust this guy. Don't give your money to somebody without doing your due diligence and making sure they're legitimate and they're okay. But the problem is that in that moment, when you find that your 14-year-old daughter is somewhere in another state, you think you're desperate. And if some smooth talking person comes around and says, hey, you know what? I can help you. I can find your daughter in 7 days. Just Zell me this amount of money and I will find her.
I will do it.
You grab onto it.
So it happens all the time. So I had a so-called PI, and I knew, and we keep names out, but after we got Dylan's remains and out of the incandescent grave, he wanted to run his canine over it. So I allowed him, just to see, I want to know what canines can do. We'd also dug out some more of Dylan's remains that day from his grave, because Box Elder never dug it out. The canine ran directly over the grave. And then the canine came back, and as we were trying to fill in Dylan's grave so nobody else could find it, the canine was trying to dig it out, playing. And this is a man who goes and he tells people, oh, for $500, for $2,500, my dog and I will go find. And there was fresh remains of Dylan there, and that canine didn't even have any interest in it. So this is happening more and more and more through social media and through these predators who go out and say, hey, I'll go find your loved one. I got a dog. I got a German Shepherd. I got a Malinois. I got this. No. I raise bloodhounds. I'd never say my bloodhound could track anything. He can track a bone, like if it's a milk bone. But this is consistently happening. It's ridiculous. They take advantage of families. We have one family that was as far as we're concerned, re-victimized by the same guy. $2,500 to put up Facebook posts. Well, guess what? We do it for free and we monitor it. This is consistently happening. And so Jazz and I see this all the time. And so that's what we want to bring to the families. Here's your good resources. Here's your good allies. Here is what you need to stay away from. And if these people say they'll listen to craziness, they'll listen to tips, they'll bring out a canine, blah, 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 blah. And they're not working directly with law enforcement, they are not a reliable source. They're just not. You got to work with law enforcement. And that's we do on every case.
That's really good advice. Really well said. I think it's super important to be careful. And it's hard because when you're in the middle of it and everything is freshly happening, like your brain really, like you're not functioning from that level of your brain where you can
No.
make analytical decisions. You are in like fight or flight in that moment. And so it is so critical that there be support around these family members to say, hey, hold on. Let's make sure we're looking into
Let's
this
call somebody. Yeah, let's check this out. This sounds too good. Between I mean, it's like looking at internet scams. The cell from Big Lots the other day, Jazz, that Brooklyn sent me that I sent you, right? If it looks too good to be true, it usually is, and that goes for all walks of life, including in missing people. So you got somebody out there saying, I can find your kid in 3 days. And the detectives are like, we don't got anything. We got no evidence. And so you get to send this person all this money. No, if it sounds too good to be true, it is more than likely too good to be true.
Yeah. And I would say that probably most of the, how do I want to say this? Above board organizations and people will not be charging an exorbitant amount of money for you to get their help. The ones that really care, the ones that really want to help, will not be doing that. So that's just a huge red flag. If somebody says $2,500, it's like, wait a minute. Now, I understand PIs can be expensive, but like somebody said in the comments, Robert said in the comments, there's a lot of PIs out there.
Exactly. Yes, there is so many of them. It's quite ironic. And 2 years ago, well, 2.5 years now, I didn't even know they existed. I can't tell you how many of them of the woodwork came out to us, and one got infiltrated into Dylan's case, and we got that handled. But I didn't know that existed. Like when I thought PI, I'm thinking like, oh, you're trying to find your ex-husband to serve child support papers, or you're right, like you're trying to locate something that I didn't realize they had gotten into the missing people's cases. But once again, it doesn't happen to us. So why would you know? And then all of a sudden you're injected into it, you're thrown into it, and you don't even know what to do. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to navigate. You're grasping at straws, anything to find your loved one.
Yeah. It's really terrible what people do to take advantage. And I think it goes beyond organizations and PIs. There's also bad actors in the creator space.
Yes.
That will do things that will harm the case, and so you have to be very careful with that too.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And then also, you've got besides just like your regular media, your mainstream media still tries to centralize stuff, and they report wrong, and then everybody goes a different way because they just want that little tweak to make it, I don't know, a little more dramatic. Like I've never been able to figure it out. And so you kind of figure out who you can work through. Luckily in Dylan's case, I worked with about everybody nationwide in media, and there's definitely some that I've weeded out that I will not deal with, even though they're mainstream media. They just want to sensationalize that, and they want to say things that makes the public go, oh my goodness, even though it's true, but it's just tweaked enough to make it a little more exciting. Well, guess what? There is nothing exciting about our loved ones going missing. They should never be able to do that, but they do, and families need to know that.
100%.
So we did have a question come in. What is the biggest impediment to people not coming forward with info on a missing person?
I would say there may be a couple of them, but probably the biggest one that I see out there is there are people that will not call the police department no matter what. They won't call. They have a tip. And so what we did to help with that is we came up with an anonymous tip line that, if we're working with any family, we'll take tips. And it's 844 Mia Lost. So that is our tip line. But the other one is they are afraid to implicate a friend. They're afraid somebody's going to get in trouble. They're afraid to implicate themselves. And so, I think it starts at a young age. You don't want to be a tattletale. And so you just kind of mind your own business and you just don't turn it in. What do you think, Candace?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. We've seen it in a lot of cases where people they just won't call in, and they've called into the tip line. And then there's been some, like we just put out a recent reward, and we did get some tips into the sheriff's office on that one. And I also think a lot of times in some of these cases, and Jazz and I have worked on quite a few together where we found the people that they are okay. They wanted to disappear. They didn't know they were missing, drugs, mental health. There can be a million reasons that the people who know where they are know in the mindset they're in, they don't want to be found, right? They don't want to be found. And so, you got so many reasons, but I think the biggest thing with not calling into the police is what Jazz says, people, if you know there's a missing person and you call in and you say, where they're at, you're implicating yourself. We did a case for a kid out of Idaho who ended up in Arizona, and those tips really worked out well. And then he didn't want to be found, and it kind of backfired on us a little bit because he was like, "No, my family's crazy." So, I mean, there can be so many reasons why that people don't want to call in, but they got to realize if you didn't do anything wrong and you just seen this person, you're not going to get in trouble. You're not implicating yourself. You're not doing anything. And even if you did something wrong, still call into the anonymous tip line. At least give this family a peace of mind. So we don't need to know who you are. If it's a tip that has, some meat to it, that is something that's like, wow, we need to look into this and get it over to the police. You can be anonymous. I mean, give the family some peace. If you did something, say something, even if we can't get you prosecuted for it.
Yeah, at least have the decency to come forward and give an anonymous tip. If you don't have to implicate yourself, you can just say, this is where the person is located or whatever, and it will help the family be able to get some answers, even if it doesn't involve you. Yeah.
And what I've noticed kind of in my research in the last 4.5 years, usually when tips come in, the police don't care about whatever else you have going on. If you have warrants or anything like that, they just send them the information.
Yes.
That's all they care about.
Exactly.
They're not worried about anything that you may have done in the past or may be involved in. They're just looking for a new lead.
Yep.
I think that's important. What volunteers are needed for both organizations? So what types of volunteers do each of your organizations request?
So as far as Dylan's Legacy, so I'm part of Missing in America Network, and that's all the awareness, the advocacy. As far as Dylan's Legacy, it's a little bit different because we are boots on the ground with specialized searches. We don't invite the public. We're direct with law enforcement. Like right now, a case we're working on, we're moving human remains around to get them to a lab, to get them tested faster. So as far as Dylan's Legacy is concerned, we always start with Missing in America Network, and then it leads to more with boots on the ground. So we really need help with Missing in America Network. I mean, all of us are exhausted. Jazz and I wake up texting each other at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I called her last night at 10 o'clock at night about something. And I'll let you tell people how to do that, but we really need help with the awareness. And then that's what leads to Dylan's Legacy, to get the boots on the ground, get the law enforcement to invite us in, and be able to get out there and do the searches. But that's just not something we involve the public in, because a lot of what we work on is criminal. And so we got to be careful.
Yeah, so we definitely need help. I love the question because I hope that we can get a lot of volunteers from this. There's a lot of different ways to get involved in Missing in America. You can become a moderator in the state you live in the state group, and help approve posts and facilitate conversations and help families. We have case managers who work directly with the families and help to set out an awareness campaign. We also have groups of people in different areas that if we have someone go missing, they will show up in the searches and do flyers. So they don't do things normally like every day or every week, but they're on a list that we call. If there's someone missing and we're having a search event in the area, they will come out. We also could use people that can do graphic design and help us with the flyers. So really anything. I do have a list of people that have contacted me in the last little bit here that I am going to be getting back to here really shortly. And we're going to be doing some training sessions to get them started. So we just got our training packet in place, and that's the next step. So contact any of us and let us know that you want to help out. We also, on our website, which is missinginamericanetwork.org, we have a volunteer form that you can submit through there. Be patient with me. I will be getting back to everybody as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah, we're a little thin strung right now.
Yeah, well, the biggest reason is because of the legislation we're doing.
So all the stuff we have
Yeah.
so Jazz, amazing Jazz, like I always say, talking about the Kelsey Smith Act, and I told we got to get this in Arizona again. And we were on an active case in Arizona where we helped bring a man home to his family, and I actually attended the service in St. Louis. So she was able to find a rep that would listen to her this late into session, that we're probably, get it forward, whether or not you get it passed, but getting it forward is the first step. I've got 2 laws in Utah, 1 in Idaho, 1 in Kansas, and 1 in Texas I'm working on. And it's a lot, because when those guys say drop and we need to talk to you, that's it. You have to, because they've got a 15-minute slot or a 20-minute slot, or they're very demanding people. So
Right.
we have been working hard on that.
Yeah, we have. And here in Arizona, I am part of the Arizona Missing Children's Task Force. And I would just want to give a shout out to Leela Woodard, who is a part of that, because together we have emailing, calling, and we were very fortunate that we did have an appointment with a representative who said she had been looking at the Kelsey Smith Act and thinking about introducing it, but thinking it's maybe going to have to wait until next session. But when she saw our interest and that we were out there talking with representatives, she said, I think I'm going to try to do it this session. So thank goodness for her, and thank goodness for Leela. Hopefully Arizona will fix it.
Yep. And the amazing part about this is, Kelsey Smith was murdered 17 years ago. And her father is still willing to come to Arizona to testify from Kansas to get this law passed after 17 years. He's willing to come to Idaho and Utah to testify with me on adding the data to it. We got to give a shout out to that family, because they're amazing. They are still hard at it, and they just kind of felt like everybody just stepped away from it. And it's like I told Kelsey's mother, Missy, last night. I'm like, I've been stalking you for like 2 years, because the Kelsey Smith Act was invoked in Dylan's case. That's how we got his first cell phone ping. That's what started everything. So to be able to thank that family and to be able to tell them, man, if it wasn't for you guys and what you did and how hard you fought, and we want to fight with you now, we wouldn't have had that first cell phone ping. And so, it's pretty amazing when you band together what we can push through legislature.
Yeah. And Missy, I think, is in the comments right now saying thank you so much.
I see her. Yes. Hi, Missy. Yeah, I had a great conversation with her last night. It was awesome. I love talking mother to mother. It's the best.
It is the best. That nobody quite understands like another person in those in your shoes, right? And so I think that's going to be the magic of AdvocacyCon for the families, is that there are going to be so many people there that understand, and we can all commiserate and talk about it, and really hopefully, you know, provide some hope for each other. Any other questions from the people that are watching? You know, this is your chance to ask Jazz and Candace whatever you want. They may or may not answer depending on what the question is, but we'll give it a last call for questions before we wrap it up.
While we're waiting for questions to come in, I know that Candace and I spoke at length when we first met, when we first invited you to come to the conference, about all the incredible things that you learned when it came to canines. And I was flabbergasted with how different and what type of dogs you need. And that it was so over my head. You know, everything is not like what you see on CSI, where it's one dog does it all and does it immediately. Can you talk a little bit more about that while we're waiting for some questions to come in?
So you know, it's super interesting because and Missy and I talked about this last night, so she can get a kick out of it. I got Putter Dylan in my freezer. I travel with Dylan in my backpack, 2 vet canines on, right? Like, people, it seems strange, but here's the thing is okay, so I have bred bloodhounds for 20 years. I bred them for the Salt Lake Police Department. I bred them for search and rescue. And I hear people on these cases that say, well, 4 days after whoever, I won't name names on cases, went missing, this bloodhound handler came in and tracked this missing person for 3 miles this direction. I am going to tell you that is 100% impossible. You've got a 12 to 24 hour window with scent dogs, period. I don't care how good they are. I don't care how good the handler. We are thinking about molecules on the ground that dissipate, right? They're gone. So a dog cannot overcome science. Then when you start going into cadaver dogs, they're going off of more sense of, and I hate sounding morbid, but bloating bodies, tissue, rotting flesh. And then you come into a stage like where Dylan was when we found him, and then he's just strictly bone. A lot of canines don't have the chance to just train on bone. So you kind of got a 3-stage cycle. Unfortunately, so many of these people come out and say, my bloodhound can do this, my cadaver dog can do this, but nobody really hears a whole lot about more on the forensic side. And so a forensic side is more cadaver, and they start cadaver and then they go over to the bones. But that is why we kept part of Dylan, is to be able to train and vet these dogs off of, and be able to wash dogs that cannot, like I said, the one dog that ran over Dylan's grave, that there was a bone right there. What good is that dog going to do in the field? And so, yes, we are building awareness. We are building stuff with that. We are trying to educate the public without offending so many canine handlers. But unfortunately, I think it's too late for that. So we just go with it, and it is what it is, right? Don't tell these families your canine can do something they can't, because it's not fair. And it's re-victimizing them again.
So another question came in. In your experience, do missing persons have access and check social media posts about them, or about them missing, and request to reach out to family at a minimum? Have you ever run into that instance?
Yeah, that's a great question, of course. We always hope that they do. We always hope so. We always tell families to put out a message, to make a video, to say, look, I just want to make sure you're okay. Reach out to me. We always hope that. I think that the number of people that are missing and see that their family's looking for them on social media and do not reach back out to them is very small.
I do too. I agree with that.
I think that if the reasons that people go missing, the most of the reasons, they're not able to. They're for one reason or another, whether it be they don't have access, or they're not in the right frame of mind, or they're not okay. So I think it's very few, but we always hope. We always hope that there's a possibility that they just up and wanted to start a new life. And so we're going to beg and plead, just let us know you're okay. So
we had one case, Jazz and I worked together last year, and it was 4 months after we got involved. case turned out perfect, found the person alive, had given his phone away. He didn't even know he was missing because of his state of mind. When his mother showed up, we got a tip on where he was at. When his mother showed up and seen him walking across the street and went and grabbed him, he did not realize they were looking for him and he was missing. And that is a very common thing.
Yeah.
So you always got to take into, and people, you know, like you talk about the elephant in the room. People don't want to talk about drug abuse or mental health issues, right? That's taboo. That's something that we don't talk about, because then that becomes the victim's fault. And that is absolutely not okay. And it is not true. And we've all found ourselves in positions where we're not 100% what we should be. That doesn't mean you don't deserve to be found. That doesn't mean you victim shame them. I mean, we see this over and over and over, and it's just not okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
I agree too.
Can I comment on that comment that Robert Palmer, is it Palmer?
Palmer, yeah.
Are you in Arizona by chance? Because we had, well, I think it was more 14 to 18 was the case here in Arizona, but we had a case exactly the same. We had a girl who went missing, and I'm going to tell you right now, I thought she was not alive. I thought that she was never going to be found. And it wasn't on her 18th birthday, but it was within the next year that she did show up and asked to be removed from the list. And of course, we're all excited, ecstatic that that she did that. But my thoughts were, how could you see your family suffer for 4 years? Like,
Yeah.
Her poor mom was just in so much pain in Atlanta. So yeah, so there's two cases right there of a case where the person in my situation definitely could have seen how much her family was doing to try to find her, and just ignored it. And it's heartbreaking. But those aren't very common, but it's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank both of you for spending the evening with us and for sharing your passion for advocacy, sharing the amazing work that you're doing. I really hope that everybody who's watching can look at those links that Melissa put in the chat. Donate if you can, even if it's $1, even if it's $5. Every little bit goes a long way. $5 worth of copies is a decent amount of copies. It's not as much as it used to be, but it's a pretty good amount of copies. So $5 does make a difference whenever we're talking about flyers and things like that, and it all adds up, right? So make sure you follow those links. Make sure you donate. But thank you both. We're so excited to welcome you to AdvocacyCon. We can't wait to hear your presentations. AdvocacyCon, don't forget to register. Melissa's putting links in the chat. If you don't have a ticket yet, there are still tickets available. Your ticket does include breakfast and lunch on Saturday and breakfast on Sunday. So it's a pretty good value when you think about that. You're also going to get all this amazing access to all of this great content that we're putting together, which you should be getting some sneak peeks on pretty soon if you haven't started to yet. Whitney, can you throw out our social media handles, and then we'll ask Jazz and Candace to throw out theirs, and then we can wrap up?
We are at advocacy_con on all of them, everywhere, wherever there's a social media. I think we've got them all at this point. And yeah, Jazz and Candace, please share yours.
So we're just at Missing in America Network, pretty much everywhere. But you'll see me around as Jazz.
Same with Dylan's Legacy. It's just that Dylan's Legacy. We'll be there. We'll have everything with us, and we're excited to hopefully connect and be able to help some families. That's the most important thing. That's what this is about.
Exactly. And I want to share that there are missing in every state groups that you can join. That Jazz helps run. So every single state in the United States has its own group. So if you, like Robert said, he's in Atlanta. If he wants to join the Georgia one, there is a Missing in Georgia group. I've joined quite a few of them, looking for cases and families to work with. I think I've got almost to all of them at this point. If not, I'll get there eventually. But make sure you go into every single one and help share, because even though I'm in Texas and Jazz is in Arizona, you never know who you're connected with. The world is a lot smaller than we realize.
It is.
For sure.
I agree.
Yeah. So thank you, Eric. Thank you, Whitney and Melissa.
Yes.
Thank you all for inviting us
Thank you,
here and
guys.
letting us be a part of AdvocacyCon. We're very excited. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all. Have a
Thank
good night,
y'all.
everybody.
Good night.